Today I'm going to show you how to create a REST API, a complete REST API. We are going to create it in Node.js in few minutes. So I'm using VS Code in this case, but you can use any other editor. What you simply need is to create a folder. For me, the name of my folder is Node.js tutorial 1. So this is the same folder, you can see it right here in my file system, Node.js tutorial 1. If you are joining me for the first time, hit on the subscribe button. So simply subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss any update I make, because I make lessons like this every time. So the first thing we are going to do, inside this folder I have other files, but it doesn't matter. If you don't have all these files, no problem. We are going to create our files we are going to be using for this tutorial. So the first thing is, what database are we going to be using? That is the interesting thing. The database we are going to be using is simply a single JSON file. So let's create the JSON file. The JSON file, I'm simply going to create file, new file, and I'm going to call this file users.json, users. Maybe I'm just going to first let me just copy this content. There is a content of this file, like the database we are going to be using for this tutorial. So let me paste it, and I'm going to save it as file save as, and I'm going to save it as users.json, and here I'm going to select JSON right here, and just make sure you get the name correctly. So give it a name, users.json. Alright, save, and it gives you the syntax coloration, and that is very fine. Alright, so let's create the second file. I'm simply going to save file, new file, and this file we are going to save it as server.js. I'm going to save it as, I think I have another file named server2. Okay, let me just call this server 2.js or server3.js. The name doesn't matter, just remember the name you give. And normally I select here and go to JavaScript and save it. Alright, so we call this server3.js. So this is where we are going to place the code, the endpoint, or the function that is going to run when we access the endpoint, when we access the URL to get a list of users. So the first thing we want to do is to get a list of users. Now I'm going to copy and paste the code here, and then I'm going to explain it, because if I paste it, it's going to actually be easier to understand. So let me paste it right here. Now this page is here, you can visit it, it's right in the description box, and I recommend you visit it, follow the procedure, and it's going to be really easy. So I'm going to paste it. So now what is happening in this place is this. The first thing we do, sorry, let me just shift this a bit. Okay, it doesn't shift. So we have this require the Express framework. Express framework, actually you need it if you are building REST APIs, where you need to make REST calls, get, post, put, and delete. So you need this item and this too. Then we have this file system. You require it because our database is simply in a file system, right? It's a single file, our users.json file in the file system. So we actually need the file system. And then this part of the code, this is actually the endpoint to get a list of users. Every other endpoint, the interesting thing is that they are going to be like this. So if we go to /get users, we are going to first thing is going to do is going to read the users.json file. Just give a second. Let me just shift this a bit. It's going to read the users.json file. They are in the same directory, and then it's going to place the content into this data. So there is a callback function, this function here, and this function is going to display the data in the console and also send the data to the response, right? So rest.end simply sends the data to the response. You can also use rest.send instead of rest.end, except that rest.send actually adds I think content type or something like that. So I'm going to save everything, and let's run this file and let's see what we have. So let me go to user.js. It seems it's giving an error message. Okay, it gives an error here. So I think, let's see, we have error. So I think I need to place the final closing braces here. So take note of that, and the error goes away. So I'm going to save all. So you are going to run the server at this point. So I'm going to run server 3. If I run server 3, I can now go to my browser and try to visit HTTP localhost port 8080 because I defined the server. Of course, this is where I created my server here. I created the server and it's going to run on port 8080. This is the address and this is the port 8080. And then it's going to display on the console the information right here. So let's start the server and let's go and access it. So I'm going to say node server 3.js. All right. So let's see. Okay, so it says REST API demo app listening at port 8080. All right. So I'm going to come here at this point and I'm going to go to visit port 8080 HTTP localhost. You can also say 127.0.0.1 at port 8080. Okay, so HTTP localhost at port 8080. Let's see, HTTP. Okay, so I think I should go to /get users, right? /get users. So at this point, you can see that we have a list of users. This is exactly the same list of users we have. We have accessed it through the browser, and we built a complete REST API working perfectly well. I'd like to recommend you do others yourself because this is one thing I do. This is other things you can do. You can insert a user. It's exactly the same thing we do, except that you have this item here, this piece of code right here. You can also get a user by ID, delete a user by ID. So I'll give a few days and I'm going to come back to do the complete tutorial, and later I'm going to do a form to use to achieve the same thing. But for now, I like to recommend you do it yourself. Let me know if you have any challenges and then we can move on from there. I remain Kainton the Tech Pro and I'm always there for you. If you have any challenges, please let me know and feel free to like my videos, share it around, and we see you in the next class.